UK's political grip currently is. So, in theory, you could try to run against the current leader, Kim Jong Un. Just depends on how much you value your life. Stone cleaner. North Korea gets an average of around 4,000 to 6,000 Western tourists a year, less than 0.02% of Londoners football in 2018, and 0.007% in contrast to New York. With so few people visiting, how do you make important places of culture look like they're popular? Well, if you're part of North Korea's Victorious War Museum, it appears you have a dedicated stone cleaner. From more secret footage in 2010, reporters found a poor lady scrubbing pathway stones in the museum courtyard. It seems it's considered unsightly to have dirt build up on stones, indicating no one has visited for a while. She was quickly escorted away from the tourists' prying eyes. North Korea's front of perfection can't be ruined by the idea that most of its country is unbelievably poor, so poor that cleaning rocks for a living is a government mandated job. Snowpack clearer. In the northernmost areas of North Korea lies Chongcheon, the place where Kim Jong Il, the Eternal General Secretary of the party, was born. I promise I'm not making these up. It's a place designed to be celebrated with large murals honoring the dead leader, but it's usually off limits. And not just to tourists, but to locals alike, seeing as the snow is so dense and dangerous, and vehicles are rarely equipped to deal with the conditions. But even here, large monuments and paths are kept clear at all times of the year, not by gritters or snowplows, but by hand. The job of snow clearers once again falls to the poor, who continue to work in the harsh weather even when there are no visitors. Shoveling your driveway doesn't seem so bad now, does it? Traffic conductor. In most societies, beautiful women have the world at their feet. They can be actresses,
our clinical team is just so into genetics and helping patients and finding that answer that it really is a company full of people that they don't want to give you nothing, right? They're going to keep striving to find that answer, and they actually really do care. If you're looking at the data, you're heavily involved, and you know this is a patient, you know what they're here for, so you're connected to that patient at that time. I work really closely with the R&D department and the upper management to think about what's new, what's coming, how can we improve things for the patient, how can we make it cheaper and faster. So we're always looking forward and planning for what we can do to make it better. I really want to highlight just how amazing my team was this past year. I mean, they're amazing all the time, but they are so dedicated and they really put their heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, there was just left and right, everything you could possibly think of. Um, and they deserve all the credit.
actresses, CEOs, models, entrepreneurs, but in North Korea, they get to be traffic ladies. These weirdly iconic women have to meet three main requirements. They must be single, beautiful, and tall. There are about 300 of them in total, and they are designed to be a front for Pyongyang to maintain the idea of a perfect looking society. There are even rumors that these beauties are handpicked for their job by the dear leader himself. But remember how before we saw that there aren't huge amounts of traffic around? Well, these women are instructed to carry on regardless. It's like the Macarena gone mad in the middle of the road. On top of this, once they reach the age of 26 or are married, they're relieved of duty. It's a declining profession as they're losing out to the introduction of traffic lights. Like the rest of the world. Better 90 years late than never, I guess. Fashion police. The fashion police are real, and they live in North Korea. In a country where it's a priority to quash all foreign influences, fashion comes in high on the list. The Kim Il Sungist and Kim Jong Ilist usually make it their duty to ensure that their fellow comrades are maintaining ideological purity and play a role in making sure the youth of North Korea are kept from rebelling or opposing their glorious general, who descended from heaven. Yep, that one's real too. So how do they do this? They critique street fashion, deviating from dark suits and flat shoes, or anything too decorative or unusual could be considered foreign influence and can be punished by a stint in a labor camp. But here's a thought. If your entire regime can be driven by a miniskirt, maybe you need a new regime. Religious figureheads. In North Korea's constitution, it promises a right to faith. But officially, North Korea is an atheist state. Defectors claim that the promise of this right is mainly for show, with persecution and severe punishments for practicing religions such as Christianity outside of state-controlled churches. Anything that would divert the people's full attention.
Oh, so they do have churches in North Korea. Okay, I did not know that.
Highest incarnation of the revolutionary
I
comradeship,
didn't know that.
judged as a religious coup d'etat. If that's the case, how would you get by being a priest, or any kind of religious figurehead for that matter? Well, usually you don't. In Pyongyang, there are a grand total of 4 churches: Christian, Protestant, Catholic, and Russian Orthodox. In a city of similar size, such as Lisbon, there are over 19 churches. Or take Geneva, with 18 churches. With everyone indoctrinated since birth to treat the Kim family as near godlike figures, what use is there for religion? Musician. In 2015, outstanding leader of the party, Army and People, Kim Jong-un. Seriously, what's wrong with president? Ordered a ban on music. House-to-house searches were put into place, not just in search of foreign jams, but local tunes as well. CDs and cassettes were incinerated if found to contain illegal and prohibited material. Why? Concern arose within the party that certain lyrics could motivate dissent. Musicians and their music must be given state authorization to be distributed to the masses, making musicians almost irrelevant within the country's confines. But it's not as if they were being paid royalties anyway. To date, around 15 civilian bands are authorized by the state, but there's no guarantee they won't be censored in the future. Mosaic board holder. Most of the world has become enamored with augmented reality features at their sporting events. South Korea, in particular, have used this stunning technology in Pyeongchang's Olympic opening ceremony to show a map of constellations, as well as bringing dragons into their baseball games. But just a stone's throw away in North Korea, well, it's a little more of a hands-on experience. Literally. At the Argentine Mass Games, you can see a wide range of human sports and acrobatics performed. Take another look at that impressive mosaic at the back. It's not a giant screen. Those are people. Human pixels, if you will, acting each as one piece of an ever-changing puzzle. The 10,000 citizens here aren't doing this for a paycheck. It's an example of volunteers showing commitment to their party and hoping to grace the state's good books. Why bother with the Jumbotron? I'm never complaining about my job again. If you were given the choice, which of these jobs would you prefer to spend the rest of your life doing? Or do you know any other useless jobs in the Hermit Kingdom I missed out on? I know I'd make a great traffic conductor, but I doubt the Supreme Leader would consider me voluptuous enough. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks for watching.
Millions of multi-pods have been recalled due to dangerous burns and traumatic injuries. Call Corey Watson Attorneys if you or a loved one were injured by a faulty pressure cooker.
North Korea is a country well known for its secrecy, poverty, human rights violations, and of course, its enigmatic leader, Kim Jong-un. Being such a private and unique nation, however, means there are a few quirks that simply don't exist outside its all-encompassing walls. So let's break into the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and see what we can find. Number 20. Korean cuts. Haircuts are a great way of expressing yourself, but the number of potential style choices can sometimes be overwhelming. Luckily for the people of North Korea, they don't have to deal with all that, as the government issues a list of state-approved styles for them. Women can choose from a list of about 18 styles, while men are limited to 10. Married women must keep their hair reasonably short, while single ladies are encouraged to try out the slightly longer styles. Young men, meanwhile, mustn't grow their hair longer than 2 inches, but older men can get away with 3 inches. That said, with these cuts the only options, I'm hardly foreseeing a 6-inch mohawk being likely to appear. Personally, though, I have to say I'm closer to number 10. Number 19. Traffic beauties. In the relatively recent past, it was pretty common for friendly local police officers to direct traffic instead of the rage-inducing light poles we know today. Kim Jong-un seems to look back on those days fondly through the eyes of a mild pervert because Pyongyang's traffic flow is directed by an entire workforce of traffic beauties. North Korean traffic conductors are rigorously trained with robotic precision and perform their role with the utmost seriousness. Specifically chosen for their physical attractiveness and family loyalty, the post of traffic beauty is especially sought after because of the associated high social standing. Indeed, the job is among the highest respected roles for North Korean women, making traffic beauties effectively as desirable to North Korean men as attractive Hollywood actresses in the West. The downside is that these women are forced to quit at the age of 26, which is hardly a retirement age. Hopefully, the ability to point at stuff is a transferable skill. Number 18. Cast clothes. In order to dissuade any potential defectors, the North Korean government has divided its citizens into castes based on how loyal their families are to the system. It all comes down to how red, representing the red flag of communism, an individual is. The three classes are tomato, for those who are both red inside and out, apples for those who are red on the outside only and exhibit certain nonconformist traits, and grapes, those who are not red at all and do unspeakable things like telephone to people from the Western world. Because the government controls education and jobs, your family status really does matter, as those seen as disloyal won't be allowed to go to college or get desirable government jobs. Overall, the whole system seems kind of free. Number 17. Korean calendar. While most of the world is currently trudging through the year 2020, North Koreans are living in Touche 109. This is because the DPRK redefined their calendar around the birthday of the country's founder, Kim Il-sung, born in 1912. Each year, similar the number of years since April 15, 1912. So next time you want to make someone's birthday really special, there's a calendar on it. Number 16. Necrocracy. North Korea's love of its founder, Kim Il-sung, isn't limited to their calendar. The man, who's now been dead for a quarter century, was declared eternal president by his contemporaries, giving him absolute power even to death. Following after Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il and Jong-un are only considered supreme leaders by comparison. This means that, unlike any other nation on Earth, North Korea could technically be defined as a necrocracy, which means having a government that functions under the rule of a dead leader. Creepy. Number 15. Long-term punishment. It's no revelation that North Korea takes political dissidents very seriously, but the punishments can be crazier than you think. If someone's accused of a political crime, like accidentally disrespecting the supreme leader, it won't just be the guilty party being punished. The suspect, their family, possibly even their friends will all be sent to a re-education camp. If the crime was considered serious enough, the whole family would remain there for life, with only the fully indoctrinated great-grandkids being allowed back into society. This system, called the Three Generations of Punishment Policy, was instigated by Kim Il-sung in 1948, and unfortunately is still used to this day. Number 14. Korean computing. While most people are probably familiar with Mac or Windows operating systems, in the Korean Hermit Kingdom, these programs are a no-go. Instead, anyone lucky enough to own a computer uses a state-created operating system called Red Star. The program is essentially a Mac ripoff and uses a very similar UI. North Korea has its own take on the internet too, with as many as 5,000 state-controlled websites, only accessible in the DPRK. Strangest of all, on these sites, the names of Kim Jong-il and Kim Il-sung must be coded to appear 20% larger than the surrounding text. Sounds like someone's overcompensating to me. Number 13. Singing Man. In case North Koreans were at risk of having too much fun, Kim Jong-un recently placed a ban on gatherings involving singing and drinking, and a crackdown on any impure behavior. Even Mother's Day celebrations were outlawed, for fears they might detract from the people's adulation of the supreme leader. Finish him on me now, okay? Number 12. Statue laws. Some of the most iconic images of North Korea's capital, Pyongyang, feature the colossal statues of its former leaders. Perhaps their great size is so memorable because it's actually illegal to photograph single parts of the statue. If you take a picture, you're legally required to photograph the entire statue. Not just that, but people are forbidden to chew gum or even talk loudly nearby, as it's seen as disrespectful to the former leaders. Even cars are required to slow down as they pass, and cyclists are obliged to dismount and walk while the statues are in sight. What about attention seeking? Number 11. Human fertilizer. North Korea's farmers are so poor and resource deprived, they're regularly forced to resort to using their own waste as fertilizer. There are even state mandated waste collections when resources run especially low, with quotas families are expected to provide. It's such a sought after commodity that there are reports that people will actually steal it from their neighbors. There have even been reports that a ringworm epidemic broke out due to the lack of sanitation resources involved in the human fertilizer gathering process. Moral of the story: don't ship it where you eat. Number 10. Perfect liquor. Among the more lighthearted of North Korean oddities are their claims that they develop a type of liquor that doesn't give you a hangover. This 80% is made from ginseng extracts that replaces the standard alcohol sugars with scorched raisins.
With payments, payroll, banking, and live bookkeeping, QuickBooks is your small business's new recipe to success. Intuit QuickBooks helps small businesses be more successful. What's up, guys? My name is Jake. Welcome to Abandoned, episode 16. This is the show where we talk about some of the coolest abandoned places in the world. So there's always been one place in the whole world that I've been really interested in. It's a perfect example of the classic American suburban mall, and that's the Rolling Acres Mall. So the Rolling Acres Mall is located in Akron, Ohio. Developed by Forest City Enterprises, the Rolling Acres Mall opened on August 6, 1975, as a perfect example of the American mall boom. When the mall